Senior citizens have rights. They have rights to go into the laundromat and wash their laundry in peace. They don't have to go by 2 or 3 machines, or kids congregating and passing fast remarks as they walk in and terrorizing them in some instances as they go in.
Under the new regulations, licenses for about half the video games already in Boston are unlikely to be renewed, including those in the basement of the South Boston Martial Arts Academy.
Have something to do when they're walking the streets. That's when problems are created, not because of machines. The lack of machines causes problems.
You're always talking about this demeaning, making kids' minds like vegetables. Talk about them out in the streets smoking pot.
One MIT study of more than 800 video game players found no basis in fact for an underlying fear expressed by parents during public hearings that video games lead to violence. Though a conclusive study has yet to be conducted, Boston went ahead with its restrictive rules. The industry plans to fight City Hall in court. There have been skirmishes before as smaller communities acted, but now a full-scale battle has been joined between the video game industry and its opponents.
Our video game industry is hotter than ever this season, and one good reason, Nintendo has introduced some hot new toys. But have things gone a bit too far? This evening, Ken Shockley wraps up a special report on Video Mania.
Does this really have to cost this much? Where should the anger be directed? Not at the parents, but at the manufacturer.
So it has come to this. Therapy sessions for families whom you could call Nintendependent.
First of all, the peer pressure starts. I feel maybe exploited.
Psychologists' offices might get more crowded this holiday season. Just in time for Christmas, the Japanese toy maker Nintendo has come out with a new set of electronic video games. At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system, and you can't mix and match. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventures. Some of the new games look like updated takes on fairly well-known formats. In the racing game of F-Zero, you're in a futuristic race car. Oh, I guess I should watch where I'm driving instead of talking. The 3D effect, as you can see, is pretty good by video game standards. There's a nice clear stretch, even if I am in reverse. Let's see if we can't turn the car around right about now. If you're a real good player, meaning you've got the skill of a 9 or 10-year-old, you can even try to jump your car. But look out, if you miss, the game lets you know your status. Nintendo controls 80% of the video market, though some game players prefer the pictures of its competitor SEGA. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
I just wanted to break it down for a minute just to show the younger audience out there that, look, this isn't nothing new. I mean, there's been gamers out here that's been going through this situation where video games is too violent, or this is an epidemic and this is just crazy. It's destroying children's minds. It's funny. And then I got another clip that kind of really catapulted it for me as a kid or a person that was in high school, when it really started going and I really started understanding what was going on and how politicized this has gotten, and how I'm looking at it and it seems like it's 1993 all over again. And even worse, I mean, there was a lot of laws that were changed, and some for the better, because you put a rating and things like that on video games to let parents know what games is questionable for younger children. But let me make this point as well. It's all up to the parents in some case, because I'm going to see my last game that I went to on a midnight launch, and it was Grand Theft Auto 5. And there were parents on a school night that had like 8, 7, 10-year-old kids with them to pick up Grand Theft Auto 5. And if you played the story in the first 45 minutes, you seen a sex scene. It was wild. And as an adult, I'm like, whoa, this is wild. So I can imagine if the kid is playing a story at that young age, you know, and that's a lack of responsibility. But this whole situation with the violent video games and blaming it on the video games, I know that there might be a couple of records of somebody maybe playing a game and then doing a violent act, but I've never in my entire life, if I've been following politics heavily in the news, I'm really crazy about watching news, hearing about a kid going out and just causing mass murder over playing Mortal Kombat or playing Call of Duty or just playing a game of Dota or me, you know what I'm saying, or me or the crew playing Tekken and then we just want to go fight. It's never been that way. I mean, but it seems like they always want to take the initiative to blame everything else. And look, as a NRA member and as a person that's heavily supporting the Second Amendment and as a gun owner himself, I find the NRA to be despicable with this. You know what I'm saying? Throwing out just a pretty face that's talk real stern and blame it on everything else except for this corporation that makes billions of dollars. I find it to be disgusting because children are dying. Sandy Hook was horrible. You know, looking at what's happening in Florida with these high schoolers, junior high kids, is horrible. I could not imagine being a parent of having two children of myself and then seeing my kids, one of my kids not coming home because a kid made a violent act because they could go and sneak and buy a gun. And I know this for a fact because you can go to a game, well, in Florida, I guess you can go into a store and just buy a gun. But I know out here, you can just go to a gun show, be a felon, and buy a gun. I know this. I've seen it myself. And this isn't a race thing because I've seen it done with white guys. I've seen it done with black guys. I've seen it done with Native Americans. I've seen it done with Latinos. It's just that, you know, and not to say that these people were going to go do violent acts, but they were felons and they needed to, and they wanted to protect themselves, and they still got guns. There need to be better laws, period. And Congress needs to get off their ass and do what's right. So I commend these young children getting out here and standing up for something they believe in. That stuff that happened in Vegas, ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Who needs to be scared of terrorists because we're killing ourselves? It doesn't make any sense. But back to my point. And I'm going to show a clip here in a little bit of what really kind of catapulted this thing for me as a kid, you know, being in high school and playing one of my favorite games at that time of all time, and seeing how the backlash and how parents went crazy and how the Congress was over here making all these rules and changes. It's really wild to me, and I really don't know why they want to blame everything on video games when we've been having violent movies ever since the late 60s. I mean, I never heard anybody say too many negative things about The Godfather. Maybe they did. I don't know. I wasn't alive in that time. But I don't know. I don't know when The Godfather came out. But anyway, or Scarface. I'm pretty sure there may have been some people say something, but not going into this whole straight line. This is violent video games is the key. Now I want to just break this down and show you this clip because I remember this, not watching this particular clip, but remember hearing about it all over the place and how I had to get my SEGA taken away because it almost seemed like these video games was going to make us all go crazy. Check it out.
Martial arts game, as some parents think is just too violent for their kids. Carol Lynn joins us live now from Northridge with more on that story. Carol?
Here it is, Bob, behind me. It's called Mortal Kombat. We're going to talk to Aaron Brandis here about the game. Aaron, how does it work?
Well, basically, you pick a couple characters, you do maneuvers on the joysticks and buttons, you do moves, and
then what are you trying to get to? Fatalities?
Nah, there's a master guy you got to beat at the end. Fatalities are just what happens if you're really brutal to your opponent. You get an opponent, you can rip off his head or something like that.
Sounds like a pretty thrilling game, and this is the kind of violence that critics are pretty worried about. Cold-blooded murder is making Mortal Kombat the most popular video game in history. Kids relish their victory and their bloody choice. Should they pull out their opponent's heart? Or simply rip his head off just to see his spinal cord dangle in a pool of blood? How do you feel about cutting his head off? After a $10 million advertising campaign, Mortal Kombat, debuting in home video today, is expected to sell 2 million copies at $50 a pop. A horrifying possibility for parents who can't believe the game makers are fantasizing about decapitation and murder.
I don't think they'll have this at home, no.
You think so?
A little bit too violent.
You look a little startled.
Yeah, it's a little too violent, I think.
That's pretty bad. That's just plain gross. Furthermore, advanced technology allows digitized video of real martial arts actors, making the action look real and not as cartoony. In fact, Mortal Kombat so shocked the managers at a nationwide arcade chain that they tried a sanitized version of the game. Instead of chopping the opponent's head off, he simply disappears. Sales dropped 40%.
They came up and said, what'd you do to the game? It's no fun anymore.
Kids are saying chill out to worried parents.
I think TV, personally, influences more than a video game. A video game is a video game.
The bottom line, parents wonder if kids can separate fantasy from the real thing.
Wait until they get out in a situation where they're fighting, and then they'll think about this and try to make it real.
Now, if there's one thing that I could take out of all these clips that I showed is how wild was haircuts back then, Jack. Wow. Anyway, no, in all seriousness, this was all over the place. I remember my mom coming in there and says, you got to get that thing out of there because she's seen me have Mortal Kombat. She bought it for me. And she's like, you're not going to play this violent game. This is too violent for you. I don't want you to go crazy. Look, and I tried to assure her, but then over time, she seen me going to the arcade and I was still playing Mortal Kombat. I was playing Neo Geo, playing Forgotten Worlds, playing Samurai Showdown. Man, I'm playing everything violent. It made me want to play more violent games because to prove like I can play this ultra violent game, come home and not do anything crazy. Eventually I got my Sega back and everything was cool. And you know what I'm saying? And it was corny to me to play on my Nintendo because everything seemed cheesy for my Nintendo. It seemed too kiddie. So I was kind of mad about it. But, you know, as a parent, I kind of understood where my mom was coming from. But again, it just comes to show, look, it's come to parenting, but we also have a bigger problem here than to blame video games for every single thing. And as games evolved and becoming more ultra realistic, things are going to be more gory, more storylines is going to be more chaotic and crazy, more serious. But this is just an art. This is just, you know, basically the new spectrum, the new entertainment that's kind of taken over movies. And look, it's okay because people enjoy things that are taboo, and other people love things that are just insanely just cool to them. People like watching ID Murder Channel and things like this. Just whatever people think doesn't mean that they're really going to go out and kill and harm anyone. You know, you got to give people more credit than to say that you got to hold their hand and slap them on it. But I do feel that there's something that needs to be done with the gun situation, because if there's people out there that's giving indications that they're going to go harm somebody or they want to harm themselves, then someone needs to go and help them instead of cutting funding for people that's having psychosis problems. I think that, you know, we need to help try to stabilize and help out the people that are going through loneliness, because if you didn't know the statistic, the United States got the highest rate of people that goes through depression and loneliness. That's pretty damn sad. And, you know, video games as a person for me is something that's an outlet, especially since I'm dyslexic and I have ADD. This is my outlet. This is what I enjoy to keep me calm, because I'll be out there going wild as hell. I don't know what I'll be doing. So anyway, not saying I'll be going to hurting anybody, but it's my outlet for calmness. And it's just like for everybody else, just to get away from the troubles of the real world. Leave video games alone. That's all I'm saying, you know, and start working on everything else to make this country better. So I definitely like to hear your thoughts about it. I know I kind of went on a rant a little bit, but I think this is necessary, and gamers shouldn't really worry about it. Just stand strong, because look, you see that they're going after video games on all fronts with net neutrality, and they're going to coming after with making an excuse and saying that violent video games is what making these people go crazy, when a lot of these shootings has been with adults. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. Peace!